Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael Fischer, President and CEO of Client First Financial in Fogelsville, Pennsylvania. Today, we're going to talk about a new series that I'm going to be putting out, a series of webinar entitled Everything But the Money. We're going to be exploring legacy planning, and today's episode is setting the stage on legacy planning. Now, I have been very fortunate over the years to have had the privilege of helping my clients achieve the life and prosperity that they desired. Many of them are enjoying their retirement free from concerns of money, about inflation, and financial insecurity. But today's purpose is that we're going to dive into a topic that's most often overlooked, and that's legacy planning. You might think of legacy planning in terms of financial bequests, large donations, or leaving your name on a building, but it's much more than that. We will explore what legacy is, why it's important, and how a proper plan will enable you to continue your legacy well after you're gone. So, when you hear the term legacy planning, yes, legacy planning does involve finances, but it's much broader than that. It's much broader than just handing money down. It's about how you are remembered and the impact you've had on the lives of those closest to you, your community, and the values you hold dear. Legacy planning helps ensure that your principal values and beliefs continue to resonate long after you're gone. Your legacy can also include everything from traditions, family values, and personal beliefs to the causes and institutions that matter to you. It's also about the relationships you've cultivated, the stories you've shared. A strong plan is also going to tie together both your financial and emotional elements. So when you think about legacy, keep this in mind. Everyone has a legacy, no matter what your financial status. It's about who you were in life, your actions, your choices, and the way you touched others. A legacy is not just for the rich and affluent. It's for anyone who wants to be remembered in a meaningful way, whether that's through their family, their community, or the causes they support. Let me give you a couple of examples. How about that coach who's been at the same high school program for over 40 years? Think of all the lives that that person has impacted by their coaching and building up a tradition at that high school or elementary school. And then you may know someone who's put a lot of time and money into that nonprofit, such as an animal shelter or a local theater group. Think about the impact they've had to those around them and their community. So when you think about your legacy, think about the impact you want to make. This could include the way you're treated, the way you've treated others, the lessons you have passed down, or the charitable causes you have championed. Your legacy is ultimately about how you are known, how people will remember you when you're no longer with us. Let's talk about the importance of identifying your legacy's impact. It's easy to focus on the technical aspects of legacy planning, who gets what, how much, and when. But rarely do people take the time to ask why they are planning and who will be impacted by that planning. Today, we are here to identify what legacies are and why proper planning will help your legacy achieve what you truly want, not just what you assumed would happen. The impact that you can have on the people you love in your community is tremendous. Your legacy planning needs to be centered on the people closest to you, your family, friends, and community. Understanding what's truly important to you will really ensure that your legacy is meaningful and impactful. Will your children understand the importance of your values? Will your community benefit from your causes after you're gone? These are the things that you need to get across to those that matter most to you. The first step in legacy planning is to get a clear picture of what truly matters to you. Ask yourself questions like, what are my core values? What are the most important things in my life? And what do I want my family to know or continue when I'm gone? So First, you have to get an understanding of what your principal values and beliefs are. And this is an exercise that I have done in front of groups and even with my clients. If I were to ask most of you, what are your principal values and beliefs? You might be able to come up with one, maybe two. But essentially, we all have 5 core principal values and beliefs. The first, well, let me give you some examples. It can be things like family, health, loyalty, integrity, or being philanthropic. But once you've identified what your principal values and beliefs are, then it's a matter of putting those in alignment with the plans that you already have in place. Once the plans and your principal values and beliefs are now in position, you can now focus on the solutions. Unfortunately, most of the media out there and people in the financial services industry prefer to focus on solutions. And it's important that you really get understanding of what you're trying to do before we start talking about those solutions. But once you have the plan in place and in alignment with your principal values and beliefs, then you can focus on the tools, things like the wills and trusts and insurance policies. Now, that doesn't mean just having them written down on a list somewhere, but it should have a reflection of your values and desires. The best solutions will ensure that your legacy is carried out exactly as you envision, not just in monetary terms, but in the values and the traditions that you want. Many people have done a couple of those things that I've just mentioned, but unfortunately, most legacies go unfulfilled. And why is that? It's because of poor communication. Now, while I was doing my research in this area to really get a full understanding of what's going on, I came across a book called Philanthropy, Heirs, and Values. It was written by a couple of gentlemen by the name of William and Presser. And in their studies, they looked at 1,000 different estates. And what they found was 700 of those estates failed. Now, why did they fail? 60% of those estates failed because of a lack of communication. Nobody knew what was going on. Secondly, 25% of them failed because the heirs and the key stakeholders were not prepared for what they needed to do. And then 15% failed because tax and legal documents weren't properly set up or were not properly enforced the way they were supposed to be fulfilled. So, how do we get around that? Well, having a family meeting is key to having this done. And a well-trained fiduciary, now a fiduciary is somebody who keeps your best interest first, is somebody that can help organize that family meeting with your key stakeholders. That would be your family, your accountant, your attorney, other financial professionals, bringing them all together so that everyone understands the plan. These meetings ensure that there's clarity, no friction, and a smooth transition when the time comes to implement your legacy. Another part of this meeting can involve the ethical will. Now, an ethical will is a document that communicates your values, life lessons, and hopes for the future. It's an opportunity to share what you're most proud of, what traditions you hope to see continue, and what your legacy truly means beyond money. Ethical wills are more often more meaningful than financial documents as they convey your true essence and heart. Including the ethical will in your plan will help dictate not only what's left behind, well, your will dictate what's left behind, but your ethical will tells the story behind those decisions. So what can a fiduciary do for you? As I said, a fiduciary is somebody who keeps your interests first, but they can act as a trusted guide to help ensure that your legacy plan stays true to the values, your values, and your vision. They can coordinate your attorney, your accountant, and other key professionals to implement your plan smoothly. A fiduciary's role in this respect is to help align your values with your plan, ensuring that your wishes are honored after your passing. A fiduciary is going to ensure that everyone involved is prepared and that your legacy will be carried out as intended, with no surprises or misunderstandings. To summarize what we've talked about here today, legacy planning is about more than just money. It's about ensuring your plan values and beliefs live on and the people in the organizations that you care most about. Start by identifying your principles, aligning them with your solutions, and ensuring the clear communication with your family and key stakeholders. So, what's next? Well, we hope that today's discussion has given you a clearer understanding of what a legacy truly is and why it should be an integral part of your planning. In future webinars, we'll dive deeper into other topics that will help you refine and strengthen your legacy planning.